Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Community Development and Regulatory Services Committee for today, which is May 3rd. I've been joined by Council members Cano, Quincy, Frey, and Reich, which is a quorum of the committee. We have a number of items on the consent agenda. These are items 10 through 14. They include granting business licenses recommended for approval that do not require public hearings. Item number 11 is the rental license dwelling stipulation agreement. Item 12 is the application to the U.S. Department of Labor for their Pathways of Justice Careers Youth Grant. Item 13 is a contract with Hennepin County to receive funds for an industry-specific, geographically targeted job fair. And item 14 is our low-income housing tax credit procedural manual and qualified allocation plan. I'm going to first move items 10 through 13 for approval. Are there any items anyone would like to pull off on that agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of the consent agenda items 10 through 13 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved. On item number 14, I have an amendment that's been emailed out to you as well as in front of you. It has to do with the QAP guidelines, and I'll just read out loud. Under item number 2, I am moving to amend the Minneapolis selection priorities as follows. A tax-exempt 501c3 or 501c4 nonprofit organization whose primary service area is the city of Minneapolis or St. Paul is a material part of the project. If they are the project sponsor or participation as a general sponsor, I'm amending it to say these points awarded because the city of Minneapolis has an assumption that such organizations have a mission that results in perpetual affordability of the units, and these points will not be awarded if a tax-exempt organization or nonprofit organization has been a project sponsor or general partner of a project that has had units convert to market rate without the consent of the city over the past 3 years. Are folks clear on the chair's amendment? Are there any questions about the chair's amendment? Seeing none on the amendment to the QAP, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment is approved on the main motion as directed by staff with my amendment. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We have completed the consent agenda. We'll start with our public hearing agenda. There are 9 items on this agenda for approval this morning, starting with item number 1, which is a land sale at 4640 Portland Avenue South. Ms. Kimball, welcome.
Chair Goodman, members of the committee, 4640 Portland Avenue South is a sale through the Vacant Housing Recycling Program. Policies for the program were established by the City Council on December 11th, 2015. 4640 Portland Avenue South was acquired on November 20th, 2015 from the state of Minnesota for $1 through a negotiated discount with Hennepin County. Staff marketed and reviewed applications received in accordance with the Vacant Housing Recycling Program Manual and recommend sale to Wilson Molina for its appraised value of $80,000. The property was constructed in 1923 and is a 2,496 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home that will be rehabilitated as a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, single-family home by the applicant and sold for owner occupancy. The applicant proposes to invest $88,700 to rehabilitate the property. The property has structural concerns, and the applicant has engaged a structural engineer to address the foundation issues. There was 1 application received. Staff attended an April 4th, 2016 Crime and Safety Committee meeting at the request of the Field Regina Northrop Neighborhood Association. They are supportive of Wilson Molina's proposal and request that if Mr. Molina fails to close on the property, that the property be demolished due to the length of time that the property has sat vacant. Mr. Molina was a new developer with the city in 2015 and was recommended to purchase a total of 10 vacant structures that year. He purchased 2 properties in South Minneapolis in May 2015 and recently completed them, and was recommended for purchase of 8 additional vacant structures at the October 13th, 2015 public hearing of this committee. At that committee meeting, there was a request from Chair Goodman for Wilson Molina to come back and provide an update about the status of the 10 properties that he purchased from the city in 2015. Staff has provided a report and attached it to this request for council action, and Mr. Molina is also here to speak to progress on all 10 of the properties. In general, I can say staff is very happy with the progress that's been made on all 10 of the projects. I can show for the two that I think it's going to work. There we go. For the two that are completed, these are images from the MLS that just show the quality of work that Mr. Molina has achieved. And to give a brief sense, many of these properties were in similar condition to the ones that are currently in the process of being rehabilitated. These are typically total gut rehabs that Mr. Molina is undertaking. I'll take any questions at this time.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 1? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on 4640 Portland Avenue South, a sale to Wilson Molina. Mr. Molina. Congratulations. I came out to see one of your houses. Unfortunately, it was not open when it was supposed to be open, but it looked beautiful from the outside. So yeah, come on up. Come on up.
I'm Wilson Molina, live at 3708 Portland Avenue South, and I want to thank you for approving the sale of 4640.
And did you just want, I mean, you've done a great job, and I've seen for my own self the projects you've worked on. Do you want to just talk a little bit about your experience working on these houses?
Yes, I mean, it's been a long, good experience, and we learned a lot of things with this program, and we hope to do the same thing in North Minneapolis. So we're on track, and, I think we should have 3 or 4 completed by July and have them for sale.
Well, thank you so much for the good work you're doing.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move this item forward.
Approval of item number 1 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. On to item number 2. Ms. Kimball.
Chair Goodman, members of the committee, 2548 12th Avenue South is also a sale through the Vacant Housing Recycling Program. Policies were established by the City Council on December 11th, 2015. 2548 12th Avenue South was acquired on October 23rd, 2015 from the state of Minnesota as tax forfeited land for its appraised value of $30,000. Staff marketed and reviewed applications received in accordance with the manual, and we recommend sale to Charles Browning for the appraised value of $30,000. If Charles Browning fails to close, then we recommend sale to Wilson Molina, again for the appraised value of $30,000. The property was constructed in 1923 and is a 3,098 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home. Charles Browning intends to rehabilitate the property as a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home by investing $151,300 in its construction. His proposal includes construction of a new 2-car garage and historic renovation of the original property details. Charles Browning intends to sell the property for owner occupancy. Wilson Molina intends to rehabilitate the property as a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, single-family home by investing $99,400 in construction. Wilson Molina also intends to sell the property for owner occupancy. Mr. Browning is recommended as the purchaser because the scope of work and rehab investment proposed by Mr. Browning is more extensive than Mr. Molina. A total of 4 applications were received. The remaining 2 applicants, Daniel Fernandez and Julie Larson, are not recommended because of one or more of the following reasons. Their extent of rehab was less significant than the recommended purchaser, insufficient financing was demonstrated, the scope of work was not sufficient to meet the Vacant Housing Recycling Program standards, or there was a less experienced development team. The Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association provided comments on April 27th indicating support of Charles Browning's proposal. Charles Browning and Wilson Molina are both here today and available to answer questions from the committee. I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 2? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 2, which is a land sale of 2548 12th Avenue South to Charles Browning. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Julie Larson. I'm one of the applicants that proposed to rehabilitate this property as a homeowner, not as an investor. I have lived in the Phillips neighborhood before, a couple of times as a renter. I have previously lived in a 100-year-old plus house, which I lived in for 30 years. there was no system that I did not work on, either personally or oversaw the people who did provide the work for me. When I first undertook this process, it was almost a year ago. I started speaking with Roxanne about how to go about this process, figuring that this might be the best opportunity for myself to reinvest the little bit of equity I did manage to get out of my house into another home. My budget is small. I'm a low-income person, but I see great potential in this house. It can certainly be added on to. There's no question about that. But as it stands right now, I would invest the money that I have, which is $50,000. There's an $8,500 grant, or not a grant, but a low-interest loan available from the neighborhood to help flush out some more of the money that I would need. In the application literature, there is some language that suggests that CPED may be asked or may help with the funding problems that may arise. And I have asked directly that question, and I've gotten very little response from their office. Most recently, I spoke with Alfred Port and suggested to him that if the city could defer the purchase price of the property until such time as the project is completed, a year from now, presumably, that I would have the money that I need going in to rehabilitate it. As a low-income person, I have learned how to shop like crazy. I know where to find things at a less price than is usually ordinarily available at retail. My favorite place is Frey, and I have currently a garage I'm renting to store building materials, 2x, windows, doors, etc. I would encourage the committee to reconsider this, since I am the only, as far as I know, the only prospective homeowner that is applying for this property. And with the city's help, a deferred purchase price, I can make it happen. I've been a professional painter for 22 years, self-employed since 1996. I have many clients who are very thrilled with my work. I left a house this morning from some people that I've been working with for over 15 years, talking to them about how to fix their windows. I had a really good letter all set up, and the computer at the library just ate it. So unfortunately, I have nothing of this in print to give to you. I am serious about this proposal. This program is the only way a prospective homeowner with my financial capability is able to get into another homeowning situation. Given the level of upfront money that's required, the amount of rehab, I have an excellent general contractor who was recommended by the PPL, their first recommendation. And he has told me, having looked at the numbers, that I have more going in than most people he's seen. I have done my homework.
Perhaps you could just wrap up here.
Pardon me?
Could you just wrap up?
Yes, I would appreciate you reconsidering this situation.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Charles Browning, and thanks for the recommendation. I'm definitely out of my element here off a job site, so I'm a little nervous, but having restored approximately 6 code compliance and condemned duplexes in Minneapolis, I'm very, very confident and can assure everyone in the neighborhood that my team and I would do a very good job and have this thing market ready in the next 3 to 4 months would be the intention. And again, I appreciate and am thankful for the recommendation.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Oh, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Bryant. I'm with Charles Browning. I will be the realtor of the project, but I also am a neighbor that lives at 2524 11th Avenue South. I've done about 6 or 7 code compliance projects as well. So I know what's involved in these renovations. There's quite an extensive code compliance list in this particular project. So we require extensive amount of work, extensive amount of know-how. And I think that from my perspective, I've had great trust and great confidence in Charles Browning and his ability to get the job done. So I strongly support him and hope that you, City Council, will do so as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this has become a point of attention in my ward. And it's been a hard one to sort of grapple with, just trying to reconstruct the history of this program and how we're changing it and updating it. And I've been thankful for the city staff who have been working on this issue for many months, and in the program in general, not just this particular lot. So I'm not going to be able to vote for this issue today, just because there's a lot of questions that I have around process and community engagement with the neighborhood association and so forth. I'm not also going to lobby anybody very hard on this issue because I understand the timing didn't allow us to really talk about this. And because this item was already published as a public hearing, we couldn't really delay it. So I do want to make some statements about the things that I expect from this program moving forward. I understand that the recommendation right now is to sell to Mr. Browning. Some of the neighborhood concerns related to how is the city supporting Minneapolis residents to be able to move into home ownership opportunities like Julie mentioned, and how are we as a city meeting our racial equity goals by trying to support small local entrepreneurs of color like Wilson Molina in this process. And so right now we're not choosing either of those options. We're going with a different option here. And it's my understanding that the program has a few slated perhaps changes to the way that we evaluate the applications based on some of those measurements that I just highlighted. So to be clear, I think that this program should be elevating people of color to move into homeownership opportunities, because we do have one of the nation's worst racial disparities when it comes to homeownership, and also supporting local Minneapolis residents. There have been questions that I would like to explore more with the city staff around how does this program deal with the issue of gentrification when a property in the Phillips neighborhood, which, as you know, doesn't really have that many expensive homes, this program is able to sell a home for $30,000, and then the home gets sold again for maybe $250,000, which is more the price range you would see in the Seward neighborhood, not in the Phillips neighborhoods. So there's a question about, how much money are the developers making on these projects? Are we making homeownership inaccessible to our community members through this? What does it mean for the types of metrics that we use to allocate and award these lots to community members and to interested investors? And then also, how do we create space for the type of conversation that Julie brought up today, in that maybe her application is not the strongest when it comes to financial proposals, but it's certainly the type of situation we want to be able to help and support, because homeownership is definitely a big jump for some of our community members, and I can relate to that story. So those are just some questions I want to put out there for us as a committee and as the Housing Division of CPED to think about long term. I understand that today we're in a particular situation with a specific staff recommendation that has shifted over time, and I'm referring more to the program of how this has been put together. We used to have an old process that was active last year. Now we have a new process that has been adopted by the council, and that process is supposed to be better. And from the conversations I've had with Roxanne, I believe that it will even get better as we try to adopt more of these racial equity values and codify them them into our metric system, as well as local preference issues. So, so today I just don't feel comfortable voting for this item, just because I know how it's had an impact on my ward residents, and just wanted to say where I'm coming from.
Further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll move the staff recommendation under the current criteria, which these 4 projects were judged under. The amount of investment and the connection to code compliance are top priorities. And we don't have anything in our policy that states owner occupants get preference, although in this case it sounds like it's going to be owner occupied, as are all of Mr. Molina's properties actually. And we don't have any ability to require home ownership, and we don't have any process that simply says we get to pick Minneapolis residents over people who are not Minneapolis residents. That's just not part of the process. The biggest issue, I think, is that we have 800 vacant homes and lots in the city, and getting them into owners who will rehab them and have them occupied, ideally by homeowners, is a top priority to many neighborhoods, perhaps not all. But in this situation, having a vacant boarded property next to your house is the biggest issue. And having someone maintain it, rehab it, or put money into it is a good thing for most of the residents. And it might not be for everyone, and I'm certainly open to Councilmember Cano looking at ways to change it, but as of right now, that's the process that these 4 applicants went through, and there are still 800 more vacant homes and lots that anyone in the room is welcome to address staff to find out what else might be available. So further comments or questions on the staff recommendation? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
That item is adopted. We'll move on to item number 3. Mr. Curtis, welcome.
Before you is a request for up to $25 million in 501c3 tax-exempt revenue bonds for the Hiawatha Affiliated Building Corporation. The purpose of the bonds is to acquire 3 of the 4 sites that Hiawatha Academy currently occupies. The 3810 East 56th, 1611 East 46th, and 4640 17th Avenue South. The 4th facility is at 3810 or 3800 Pleasant Avenue. They will remain a tenant in that building. They currently serve over 1,000 students, predominantly low-income communities, focused on closing the achievement gap. The seller is the Charter School Development Corporation, which is a national organization. They also have 156 full-time employees, and they will add 22 full-time employees with this purchase of the facility that they will now be able to occupy and have a little more control over.
Are there any questions for Mr. Curtis on his report? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open up the public hearing on item number 3, which is a bond issuance for Hiawatha Affiliated Building Corporation and Hiawatha Academies. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of this item and the related resolutions in the issuance of the bond sales.
Further comments or questions on Councilmember Quincy's motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 4. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have an application by Tuttle Incorporated doing business as LC's Bowling Center at 729 Marshall Street Northeast, and they are seeking a permanent expansion of premises for a Sidewalk Cafe. The Sidewalk Cafe will have seating for 32 persons. It will be located on the Marshall Street side of their building. The design of this Sidewalk Cafe has been approved by the Minneapolis Public Works Transportation Division. It meets all of those requirements. A public hearing is required for this expansion. We notified all residents and property owners within 300 feet. We also notified the St. Anthony Neighborhood Association and the Northeast Minneapolis River District. We received 1 response from that mailing, and that was in support of the application. Staff's recommendation is to recommend approval The Tuttle family operates several dining and entertainment centers in Minneapolis, and they do it extremely well and very responsibly. Staff's recommendation is that you approve the application.
Are there questions for staff on item number 4? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 4, which is an expansion of premise for LC's Bowling Center. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. LC's for quite a long time now has been an institution in the 3rd Ward and specifically in the St. Anthony West neighborhood. They've contributed greatly to both community as well as being an extraordinary business. And activating Marshall, especially along that particular corridor at that particular intersection with Plymouth, I think would be a wonderful addition. So I'm very supportive of the expansion in the Sidewalk Cafe, and I will happily move forward the staff recommendations. Thank you for your contributions to the community.
Further comments or questions on Councilmember Frey's motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 5. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application by the Pinku Restaurant Group LLC. They are doing business as Pinku Japanese Street Food Restaurant at 20 University Northeast. This is a new business, a new restaurant seeking an on-sale wine and strong beer license, Class E. The Class E does not allow live entertainment. This is located in the Nicollet Island East Bank neighborhood in Ward 3. They will have seating for 32 patrons inside, and they will have no exterior seating on a patio or sidewalk cafe. Hours of operation will be till 10 p.m. daily. The Pinku Japanese Street Food will offer a variety of authentic dishes made with fresh seafood and vegetables, and their menu will be available throughout all hours of their operation. A public hearing is required for this new license, and we notified all residents and property owners within 600 feet. We also notified the Nicollet Island East Bank Neighborhood Association and the Northeast Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce. We received 3 responses from that notification process, and all are in support. I believe this application meets all of our requirements, and staff's recommendation is that you approve it.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 5? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 5, which is a new business license for Pinku Japanese Street Food. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm really excited about this new business for multiple different reasons. First, specifically in the Nicollet Island East Bank neighborhood, as well as some areas of North Loop, we've taken great efforts to reduce the square footage of a lot of these small locally owned businesses and the units in which they're held. And what this does, one, is it prevents a lot of the conglomerates to set up their boilerplate, but 2, it allows for it's small enough so that small local businesses can pay rent. In this particular instance, it is a smaller square footage. However, they've got a lot of activity and flavor packed into a very small footprint. Secondly, I'm really proud of it because, one, they've been substantially, both John and X have been substantially involved in the community from the very beginning. They've been to I don't know how many neighborhood associations meeting. They even attend my Wake Up with Jacob. So they are involved to the nth degree. They're employing people who are on the spectrum. They've taken efforts to employ people of color and are really a great partner in the neighborhood. So thank you. I'd happily move this item forward.
On Councilmember Frey's motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 6, Taqueria El Chivo.
Madam Chair, we have an application by Don Chilo Restaurant Incorporated, doing business as Taqueria El Chivo, number 3, and they are located at 311-13 East Lake Street. They are seeking a new on-sale wine and strong beer license, Class E. They currently operate with a plain restaurant license at this time. They have seating for 32 patrons on the inside, and they do not have exterior seating at this time. They tend to be open till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and until 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. Food service will be available all hours that they are open. The owner is Pedro Fuentes Clavel, and he will be the manager of the premises. He has many years of experience in this industry, and he currently operates the Taqueria El Chivo at the current address, and he has operated since there since December of 2015. He also operates Don Chilo Restaurant at 417 East Lake and has been there since 2005. And the menu will consist of authentic Mexican food. Public hearing is required. Residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises were notified of this application. The Central Area Neighborhood Development Organization and the Lake Street Council were also notified of this public hearing today. We received one response. It was opposed to the application based on traffic, parking, and opposition to alcohol service in general. This application seems to meet all of our requirements, and staff's recommendation is that it be approved.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 6? This would be for the, we'll call on you for the public hearing. Seeing no questions, we'll open the public hearing on item number 6, which is a new license for Taqueria El Chivo. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Yasin, and the address 3015 2nd Avenue South, Minneapolis. As we heard about the applicant's info, as we all are aware of the selling alcohol and other product that also impact the violence crime in the neighborhood. For instance, the issue now we know that is the crime is high today, but adding additional to the selling alcohol and privilege, that could also impact the neighborhood as well as the when we look at the homicide, for instance, the rape, the assault, the robbery has been high, where the alcohol has been selling. When you look the unemployment, that neighborhood still is high. So we looked at the research that the other city in the United States has been dealing with this issue. For instance, if you look in New Jersey and LA, where the research has been done, where the alcohol has been serving or the bars, is about 65% higher than the other area that non-alcohol products sell. When we look the youth that in the area, specific where we provide educational youth, over 50, 60 high school kids during weekends as well. We worry about the impact that could also ended up in that area. We heard about a lot of comments to the neighborhood. This issue could be higher than what we thought. Overall, what city can be powerful to reduce these violence could be making rules, those minimum distance between alcohol outlets, limit a new license for the areas that already had close together, not issuing a new license when particular location goes out of business, for instance. And
sir, could you wrap up your comments and try to keep them to this issue, this specific license?
Yeah.
So 30 seconds.
30. Thank you. So the bottom line is that we worry about we might have some high crime, and the violence could go higher than what we have today. So we're asking not to issue this license due to the situation that we know currently. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Representative, and thanks for the job that you have the city of Minneapolis. I am a member of the community that live in the area, and
Well, what is your name and what is your address?
I'm sorry. My name is Abdullah Abdullah. Do you need my address?
Yes, sir.
I do live 35 and 3rd, but also I am a member of the community, central community neighborhood, and I came here to raise the concern about the especially minority community that live in the area. We have a center that called Urban Ventures Youth, where youth attends. Colin Powell Leadership Center. We have the center that just talked. We have Green Central Park, which is very close to the area. And we already struggle the issue of gangs, prostitution, and the Lake Street had a lot of work needs to be done. But if we add on one venue for selling liquor until 2 o'clock, we believe is not the best interest for the resident in the neighborhood and the safety for the youth in the neighborhood. And we would like to consider that. And thanks for the services.
Okay, thank you.
And especially Representative Cano, we would like you to consider this and reach out to the community and seek more information about this stuff. And we have a teen challenge, which is another addiction services very close to Ward 8, which is the borderline of the other side of First Avenue. So we'd like to consider all those things before we issue this license.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for the city staff for Grant. Was there any conversations with the owner or the applicant around these issues of crime and safety and the alcohol permit? And can you tell me one more time their hours of operation?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Cano, certainly. The hours of operation will be from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. They do want to operate from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. This is a small restaurant with 32 seats, and they're seeking an on-sale wine and strong beer license, Class E, which is no live entertainment. And it will be just to accompany the food is the intention in the business plan.
Okay, thank you for that. So we were just chatting about how the application is for beer and wine. So I just want to acknowledge that we do have challenges in this area with some of the crime and safety issues that the community members have raised. And this is kind of a difficult issue to figure out, because sometimes the way that we try to address some of these issues around livability and crime and safety is by getting more people to come to Lake Street. So a lot of times, because Lake Street tends to shut down after 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. at night, we don't have the vibrancy of the people coming to spend dollars there like you see in Eat Street or in Uptown. And so one of the things that we try to do as a council office is really to promote activity on Lake Street in the after hours, 8 p.m. on, so that folks who are shopping and eating can still feel comfortable in the street and they're not empty, and folks who live in the area don't have to go to other neighborhoods to spend their money. So I think right now what I want to do is I'm going to support this application, and what I can do is track it. What we do typically is we just track closely the activity, maybe 3 to 6 months from now, check in to see how things are going, and if there's any issues with some of the concerns that the community members have brought. My office is here to meet with you and to be ready to address some of those issues. But I think for now, this is a strategy that we can put in place to try to get more folks to come out to Lake Street, to come and eat at the restaurants that are here and available. And if there seems to be a pattern of issues that arise, we would be happy to address it. And we have addressed this with other businesses that have had problems with some activity. And that's where we can work with our regulatory services staff to curtail some of the hours. So maybe we help them close at an earlier time, or we monitor them more closely. And I would like to move this for approval. Thank you.
Motion to approve is in front of us. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 7. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application by Pony Up LLC, doing business as the Draft Horse at 117 14th Avenue Northeast. They are seeking a permanent expansion of premises to add a new Sidewalk Cafe. The Sidewalk Cafe will have 32 seats. It will be located on the 14th Avenue side of the sidewalk. And the design of this Sidewalk Cafe has been approved by the Public Works Transportation Division. We notified all property owners and residents within 300 feet of this establishment of today's public hearing. We also notified the Sheridan Neighborhood Association and the Northeast Minneapolis River District. written responses received to date include one that was in support of the application. Staff's recommendation is this meets all of our requirements, and we recommend that you approve the application.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 7? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 7, which is an expansion of premise for the draft horse. Is anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The third ward is cooking today, and Draft Horse is another excellent organization that's just attached to the food building, serving wholesome and excellent food, and I'm happy to also make sure that they get an outdoor patio.
On the motion, I'll take that as a motion to approve. Item number 7, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 8. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application by Twin Spirits Distillery LLC, doing business as Twin Spirits Distillery, for a location at 2931 Central Avenue Northeast. They are seeking an on-sale liquor license with Sunday sales to be used in conjunction with their distillery, and will be actually operating it as a cocktail room. They're asking for a C2 entertainment, which is up to 3 amplified musicians. And they are also applying for the off-sale distilled spirits license that's allowed for distilleries. I believe this is our 6th distillery cocktail room since this law was passed in 2015. This is in the Audubon Park neighborhood in Ward 1. The seating capacity for the interior of the cocktail room will be 22 persons, and the exterior outdoor patio will be for 16 persons. Hours of operation proposed for this business for the cocktail room are 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Wednesday and Thursday, 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday, and 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. on Sundays. The owners are Michelle and John Winchester. A public hearing is required. We did notify all residents and property owners within 600 feet of this address. We also notified the Audubon Park Neighborhood Association and the Northeast Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce. We received 2 responses from that notification. One was in support and one was opposed. The one that was opposed was concerned about air quality as it relates to emissions released from distilling operations. Based on our review of this application, they seem to meet all of the requirements of the state and city ordinances on distilling and cocktail rooms, and staff's recommendation is that you approve the application.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 8? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 8, which is a new business license for Twin Spirits Distillery. Is anyone here to speak to this issue? Who's Michelle Winchester? The first woman-owned distillery. We think that's very cool. It was in the report even that way, so I think that says something. Congratulations to you, Governor. I note that that's what you go by, and I love it. I think it's great. Is there any, would you like to say something?
Yes.
Come on. The girls up here say yes.
I'm very excited about opening my distillery. It's been my 4-week project that has taken 6 months. So I'm very eager to do it.
What are you going to be distilling?
I'll be starting with vodka, and then I'll do gin and rum and whiskey, limoncello.
That's great.
Just keep rolling.
Well, thank you for being here today. It's really
Thank
nice
you.
to see this happen.
Thank you. I'm
Is there
excited.
anyone else here to speak to this issue? Sir, come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gary Long. I live in the Northeast, 2913 Central and right close there. And the reason I come down here because I think it's about time you people let something like that in there. It's been dry down there for a long time. And I was out west. I had to fly back for this because I just thought there'd be people down here opposing it. I was before you people 14 years ago over there when I wanted to put a car wash in there, and they wouldn't let me do it. So in 14 years, this has switched an awful lot.
But I was just a little concerned there was going to be a lot of people bitching, so that's why I was here.
That is so awesome that you came down here.
So-
God bless you for doing
So
it.
I'm forking forward.
You owe him a distillery of some distilled things. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? And if you're going to speak against, you might have to talk to this gentleman. Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And with the resounding support of a thirsty populace, we have certainly found ourselves with the sort of epicenter of a distillery boom. I mean, we are the highest concentration of distilleries now in the state, I believe, and also the highest concentration of brewers. And they have now joined forces to create a district of brewers and distillers. And again, in partnership with the community and the artists, really have forged not just businesses, but community. And because they're making things and we're invited to share in that, that's a good thing. And so thank you, sir, for coming down and testifying. You're not alone in your opinions. And thank you for being an entrepreneur and investing in Northeast. I move approval, Madam Chair.
On Councilmember Reich's motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Thank you for being here today. We'll move on to our remaining item, which is Viking Bar. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Viking Bar, Minneapolis LLC, doing business as the Viking Bar, is seeking a on-sale liquor license with Sunday sales, Class B, and a Sidewalk Cafe license for the property at 1829 Riverside Avenue. This location held an on-sale liquor license with Sunday sales, Class C1, from 1984 until 2006. This building has sat empty for those last 10 years. This is in the Cedar Riverside West Bank neighborhood and in the 6th Ward. The Viking will have interior seating for 63 and exterior seating for 40. They intend to have hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily for interior and exterior use. There are 4 owners, Aaron Britt, Amy Britt, Patrick Johnson, and Michael Tomasulo. The Sidewalk Cafe is the first time that the Viking is asked for a Sidewalk Cafe. There's not been one there before, I mean. This is proposed for the 19th Avenue side of the establishment. There will be 7 picnic tables with seating for approximately 40. A 6-foot clearance will be maintained at all times for pedestrian traffic. The design of this Sidewalk Cafe was approved by our Public Works Traffic Engineering Division. The new applicant intends to keep much of the former interior furniture, woodwork, and artistic detail of the Viking Bar the same. They will also continue to have live music, as did the previous Viking Bar. A public hearing is required for this application because they are upgrading from a Class C1 to a Class B, and also for the Sidewalk Cafe. 177 notices were mailed to residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises. We also notified the West Bank Community Coalition and the West Bank Business Association on April 20th. We have received 7 responses of the notification of today's public hearing. We've received 7 written responses. 3 are in support and 4 are opposed. In general, the 4 that are opposed submitted written documentation that they fear noise, the outdoor area might be too big, and then it may restrict wheelchair access on the 19th Avenue side. But again, we have confirmed that the diagram submitted and approved by the traffic engineer does leave a full 6 feet for regular pedestrian use. I believe that will remain that way, as the tables are using are picnic tables that are harder to move away than lightweight furniture. Based on our review of this application, staff's recommendation is that you approve it.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 9? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 9, which is a new business at 1829 Riverside Avenue, Viking Bar. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Okay, why don't you all line up, and then so we can move it along faster, just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Doris Wickstrom, and I live at 1911 South 5th Street, and I'm the president of Northwest Bank Townhome Association. And I'm here today to oppose granting of the licensing, mainly because of the large number of outdoor seating arrangements that they plan to have, and also the unrestricted hours to that outdoor seating. The location of the Viking Bar is very close to residential structures, and in fact, Greystone Condos, which is directly behind it, has come out opposing it because of the interference of noise and greater activity from having 40 to 70 outdoor patrons. It's a very small sidewalk, extremely small. And the noise generated from that amount of people, I think, would affect all of us residents that live in the area. There wasn't really any neighborhood review. I hear that there was notice sent to the community organization. However, if there was a neighborhood review of this, I think many of the issues could have been resolved. More people could have come if there was an evening hour meeting and express their concerns, or to even hear from the owners about their responses to some of the concerns. I think there's going to be more parking congestion. I support the bar as far as I'm glad that they're doing something with the building, having a restaurant. I think that's great. But I think in order to develop good relations with the neighbors, that I think it's important to have, to recognize the concerns of the neighbors, particularly around noise. So I think there should be restrictions placed on, if they have outdoor seating, there should be restrictions placed on hours of operation, say 10 p.m., so that would reduce the noise. I'm also concerned about when they're asking for amplified music. I don't think that has been there in the past for the Viking Bar. And I'm worried about the noise. We have 5 bars within a block of that location, and I know at least one down the street, the Nomad, neighbors complain continually about the noise, and people leaving the door open and noise for the residents. So I think at this time I'm opposed to the license, and I think there needs to be a community review and the ability of the community to have answers given to some of their questions and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Michael Charis, 518 19th Avenue South. I live about 300 feet away from this particular bar. I am very glad that they are restoring it. It's been a vacant hole for a number of years. The fact that there'll be activity there will actually, as Ms. Quinto said earlier, provide a better feeling to be able to walk around at night. However, the ask for 40 seating positions and 70 possible total is a lot for that particular structural area outside. Did they actually provide a map or a drawing that the council people could see?
Yes, we have one in our report, and actually I'll ask someone to put it on the screen.
You had stated that there was a 6-foot lane that was available for traffic. I've not seen the fact that they're going to take out some trees to make that work.
Give me a second. I think it's fair for you to say you haven't seen the map. Why don't we go ahead and put that on the overhead projector so it comes up so that they can see what we see. You could take a moment.
Okay. If you'll notice on the drawing where they have the tables set up, that is a very narrow space, especially if you're going to be talking about a total of 70 people or at least 40 people sitting. It's not going to be divided out away from, there's not going to be a wall or a fence line as far as I can tell. And it just seems to me that with broadcast music up to 2 o'clock during the week. I would not have a problem with that being like a Friday and Saturday night event. But during the week, that's going to really affect my neighbors to their south. And I think that they just need to have it reviewed to maybe shrink the number of people that are on the patio by about half or maybe a third to make it a viable, usable space. I really want this to happen. I just think that they need to readdress it and look at it from a more realistic standpoint. I'm afraid that why they put it so high is so that they can fit a business model, not to a reality. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue?
Hello, I'm Amanda Kruger. I live at 1824C South 5th Street, about 30 feet away from where this would be opening. My major concerns are that it will be open until 2 a.m. every single night. Not only is that a concern for me, who lives so close, but for the low-income housing that lives across from me. There are many children and many families that rely on this community, and we do not need another bar. I am also concerned about the outside seating, as it will actually interfere with how we drive into the area. I will show you. I don't know if you can see now, but while the Viking Bar has been under construction, they have been blocking the sidewalk with a car and a dumpster. It has not only been an issue for me, but there are many with disabilities in the Cedar Riverside community. It is a mainly Muslim and asylum seekers community, and so it is an issue when we have yet another bar opening and it's not listening to community demands. Having another organization open at 2 a.m. every night selling alcohol to a community that does not drink, that is a concern not for me, but a larger group of people that are not represented here today. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? I'd get up if I was here from the Viking Bar and answer some of these questions.
Hi, I'm Amy Britt. I live at 2841 Bryan Avenue South.
I'm Aaron Britt. I live at 2841 South Bryan.
Good afternoon. I'm Patrick Johnston from Los Angeles, California. Came out here for the meeting here. Thank you.
I'm a little nervous, sorry.
Laura Boyd, Alcohol Compliance Services. I'm their licensed consultant.
So who did you meet with in the neighborhood? So if these folks didn't meet with you, who did you meet with?
So I mean, I'm a little bit surprised. We've been open, as they said, we've been during construction, and we haven't had anyone come in to complain. We've met a lot of people from the neighborhood who are excited about the bar coming back, and we've met with the West Bank Business Association. We've met with the Brian Coyle Community Center. We want to be involved in supporting the community directly, and we're very interested in being good neighbors and good partners.
Okay, do you have to have the outdoor seating open till 2 in the morning?
No.
What time are you willing to close it to accommodate their concerns?
We could do 11 o'clock.
Okay, I'll take 11. What about the number of seats?
It actually is quite a big space. I don't know if you can see on this map, but this is the seating area right here. And then this is the full sidewalk that's still available. And then there also is that whole boulevard strip that provides the safety for that sidewalk space. So, I mean, it was a very expensive proposition to open this bar. We had to build a kitchen in the bottom of the basement, which was not there before. And so we really are, operating under tight constraints to start making some money back and staying in business. So we are very interested in keeping our capacity as high as we possibly can.
Okay, and then my last question has to do with amplified music.
Yes, there was amplified music at the bar before 10 years ago.
Outside or inside?
There will not be amplified music outside.
Okay, great. All right, so Councilmember Warsami.
Have you spoken to the residents that live in the townhouses just right next to the bar?
I have to admit that we've been so busy working on the construction that we haven't really walked around and met anyone. We've been anecdotally outside, sort of changing the marquee and things, and met people as they've been walking by, but we haven't pulled.
But what's interesting, you said you went all the way to Brian Coyle, but you haven't spoken to the people who live right next to the bar. And they have an association, and they sent in a letter opposing
I actually,
license.
I may have been going about this process wrong, but I just heard about this, the West Bank Townhome Association today, and just heard about those letters today. I'm absolutely interested in addressing that. We went to Brian Coyle because I had met someone who was a representative from there, and they were interested in talking to us.
And Brian Coyle is just a center. It's not an organization. The West Bank Community Coalition is the organization. And we haven't had any support from them either. So you need to reach out to them.
Okay.
And also, can you go down to 10 p.m.? Because that's one thing I've heard. If you can do 10 p.m., we'll be happy. Would that be okay?
Could we do 11 on the weekend?
11 on the weekend. What do you think? 11 on the weekend? We're haggling right now. So
Why don't you have a motion? We'll let them speak, and then you'll make the motion for what you'd like.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
I get a sense of it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. No, we've had a public hearing. We're not negotiating back and forth.
Okay.
We have a sense of what's going on. I will say I'm glad they clarified the point with regard to outdoor amplified music. And it kind of goes to this young lady's point. I don't remember your name, and I'm sorry. Yes, Doris, that just talking to the neighbors probably would not have had this happen. And so I'm sure Councilmember Warsame is going to direct them to do that as a condition of his approval. And so I'll call on Councilmember Warsame.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion to approve this with a condition that they speak to the townhome associates, people who live there, and to have it at 10 p.m. closing.
For the outdoor.
For the outdoor, yes.
Indoor would be till bar time.
Indoor, yes, but for the outdoor, 10 p.m.
Okay. On the weekends as well?
The weekends, 11. We can do 11 on the weekends. Okay.
Okay. So I want to make sure that the members of the committee understand this is the staff recommendation as amended by Councilmember Warsame to have the outdoor cafe only, have it move people inside at 10 on weekdays and 11 on weekends. There's already been an assumption there'd be no amplified music outside, and that they'll make a point of talking to the immediate neighbors, which I think would have probably resolved a lot of these issues. And should you get to the point where you operate so successfully that the neighbors love it, you can come back and ask for the hours to be extended. So it might be a way for the neighbors to test how it works, and you might find you support them having people outside later, because when this young lady comes home later at night, you might want people on the sidewalk. I lived above a bar for 20 years, and I can tell you I always felt safest when people were on the sidewalk cafe at night when I came home. And so you might find that, you might not, but at least they give them a chance. So on Councilmember Warsame's motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to our receive and file item. I just want to note item 15 to be received and filed is our Small Business Revolving Loan Program's year-end report. I did have an opportunity to read the report, and I would encourage everyone to do it. It's a pretty good success story. There are a lot of really great things that have happened as a result of these loans, and many of them happened all over the city as well. So I just want to note that. Then we'll move on to our two discussion items, starting with the MPHA Board of Commissioners appointments. Mr. Lutz, welcome.
Speak in front of a committee. Just wanted to say that I'm pleased to be here today with two related reports relating to reappointment and appointment of MPHA commissioners. One is the first report is the mayor's recommended appointments. The second is the council recommended appointments. Mayor's recommended appointments are reappointment of Clayton Tyler, who's here as board chair for a 3-year term. Mikkel Beckman, who's also here for a 3-year term. Tamir Ali Muhammad is another mayoral appointment recommended by the High Rise Representative Council. He is not here today. So those are the mayoral appointments. The city council appointments then are Tawana Black, who's sitting next to Andrea Brennan, for a 19-month term. She'll be serving an unexpired term of another commissioner. And then Abdullah Isa, he is right here. He lives in scattered site public housing in the 13th ward. And so he also will be appointed, assuming the council concurs, for a 3-year term. So, Madam Chair, that's my report.
Okay, thank you for your report, Mr. Lutz. I am just thrilled at this slate of candidates, and just so happy that so many of them are willing to serve, and the diversity of experience more than anything else, I think is really important. So I'm going to ask if any of the four that are here today would like to say something. You've come down, you sat through this whole meeting, you might want to say something. I would invite you to do so. Starting with Mr. Tyler, who I know will want to speak.
Madam Chair, I did omit Tom D'Angelo, who's also a
He's on the written
city
report.
council.
He's not here.
Right. I should say before they speak that this is the first time in ages that we will have a full complement of MPHA commissioners.
That's great.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Tyler, welcome.
council members, I'm very excited to have these new commissioners present here with us today and on board. We have a lot of hard work to do, as you well know, and I think that with a full complement of commissioners that we can start doing the work that needs to be done. As you know, we're also in the process of looking for a new executive director, and so they're going to be very important in putting together that process too. So I'm looking forward to dealing with them as per my normal protocol. After they've been formally appointed by the city council, I'll meet with each of them individually and talk to them about what is expected and how we go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your service. Mr. Beckman, welcome.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I think when I look at the assets and the opportunities and the potential of our public housing authority, there's an incredible amount of latent connectability to other efforts and initiatives going on. MPHA remains the largest provider of affordable housing in our community, and there is just a lot of work, as Mr. Tyler said, to be done, and I'm looking forward to digging in and understanding it and providing it with some vision and strategic direction along with my colleagues. So I'm really excited. Thank you for the opportunity.
Ms. Black, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm excited to be a part of the legacy, the successful legacy of MPHA, and add my strengths and experience to that table. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Ossie.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me serve in my community. I appreciate that, and I'm glad to be here. And I hope everything will be as I wish. Lucas, you guys doing a good job, so I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for your service. So members of the committee, we have these appointments in front of us. I'm not sure I could reiterate how well this has turned out. I just could not be happier. I really feel like we're making great strides. And I say this all the time. I mean, this is the biggest stock of affordable housing we have in the region. And we're talking about thousands and thousands of people who are impacted by public housing in our community. And the fact that it is a citizen-led independent board means our job is to pick the people and let them govern. Although I love to try to tell Mr. Tyler what to do fairly frequently, I will say. But I understand the independence of it and appreciate the community members who will spend so much time actually working on it. It's a major appointment. I would say it's one of the most major appointments we make as the city. This is an organization with a multi-million-dollar budget and the lives of real people in their hands. And I trust all of you to do a great job. And thank you very much for being here today. Councilmember Warsami.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have, I think, the most public housing units.
Because you took like 3 of mine.
Yeah, I took about 3 of yours. 4 from some other place. I have about 17. I have about 17 public housing units. So, and we work closely with the high-rise representatives. And I thank your service and all the work you do. I think it's wonderful. So, thank you very much.
Councilmember Frey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for your service. You're undoubtedly doing a bunch of work at a time of major transition, so I'm very hopeful and confident, 1, in your skills, but 2, in the fact that you'll look back maybe 10 or 15 years from now and recognize the momentous, how important and momentous the work you did 10 years prior. So this is a big deal, and thank you very much.
On the staff recommendation for the slate of 6 members as written on your agenda, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Our final item is just simply approving the draft 2016 Affordable Housing Trust Fund RFP programs and guidelines. Ms. Flack, in the interest of time, I'm just wondering if you can highlight the changes.
So the committee, thank you for having me this afternoon. As you mentioned, before you today is the draft of the 2016 Affordable Housing Trust Fund RFP. There were a number of changes this year. They've been highlighted in yellow in your draft. The biggest changes this year were including the Family Housing Initiative. There's approximately $1 million in that will help support larger unit developments. In addition, we included some guidelines for any pipeline funding should we have some applications or funding left over that we want to work with at the end of the round, as well as increasing our maximum awards to include units that will receive awards if they have 60% of the median income in concentrated areas. So with that, I'm going to conclude since they are in your report. If you have questions, I'm here to answer those.
Does anyone have questions? I do want to note, because Councilmember Reich and Quincy and I have spent a good amount of time on this one change that we think is very important, which is raising the income level in areas of concentrated poverty to 60% instead of 30 and 50% of the metroid median, which does match with our tax credit allocation guidelines, but I think it's a big deal for us to further pay attention to the issue of the concentration of poverty and to allow for slightly higher incomes in those locations so we can have a little bit more of an income mix. That's one of the big notable changes. Seeing no further comments or questions, I'll move to approve the staff recommendation. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.
Thank you.